How is after school transition going? I know that this is the beginning of the school year. A lot of first time kindergarteners, a lot of first time first graders. My children just started third grade. One of them is neurodivergent. And by the way, I'm neurodivergent. And today I'm going to share with you how our transition from school back to the house, the after school transition has been going. Because yes, it could be interesting. We could be a little rough around the ages, adjusting kids from the school routine back to the house. It could get a little wild, and you can experience and handle and deal with meltdowns. So, if that is you and you want to learn how I'm doing to navigate after school transitions with my neurodivergent son as a neurodivergent mom, stay. Hello, my name is Marcela Collier. I am the host of this amazing podcast of the Parenting with Understanding podcast, and I'm glad that you're here. Okay, so let's talk about the transition because yes, it is a transition. I was talking to a mom the other day. I talked to so many moms, so many parents in general because I'm a parenting coach. And then she was telling me that the transition from school back to the house was rough. Her child was not basically not listening to anything. For her is very important that her child washes her hand once she comes from school because she has a baby and she doesn't want the kindergartner touching the baby with the dirty hands or touching anything with dirty hands if the baby puts her mouth on everything. So for her it's very important that she washes her hands and that she hangs her little backpack on the little hanger by the mat room. But what happens? The struggle has been real. The kid has not followed the instructions, and it's just a power struggle that ends in tears, that ends in yelling, that ends in frustration because the child doesn't want to follow those two simple instructions. So that just lets me know that the child is struggling with that transition. This little one is starting kindergarten this year. It's the first year that she's been out of the house for so many hours. The rest of her life, she's been with mom. And that transition back to the house for the child is time to reconnect back with my primary caregivers, with my attachment figure. So it makes sense why, to me, to this child, washing hands and hanging the backpack is not a priority for her. It's not a priority for your child to follow your after school routine. Their priority is reconnecting back with their caregivers, reconnecting back with their pets, reconnecting back with the other siblings, and reconnecting back with their environment. Our priority is not their priority. And when there are conflict, when there is a conflict of priorities, then power struggles arise. Why am I starting with this story? Because tied up to my life with my twins, if I am very focused just on my priority and don't consider their needs and their priority, I would get into power struggles like the ones that this mom was living. So when my children come back from school, my priority is not what I need from them, is what they need to transition, which is reconnecting back with me, reconnecting back with their environment, and reconnecting back with each other. If that means they're going to hang their backpacks a little later in the afternoon, then that means that. For this mom, after I talked for a while, I said, okay, so your daughter's priority is to reconnect back with you and with the baby, but for sure, for you, it's highly important. I'm stumbling over my words. For you, it's highly important that she washes her hands. What about hanging the backpack? And she said, no, I don't even care about hanging the backpack. That could happen a little bit later. But yes, it is a non-negotiable for her to wash her hands because I have a baby that puts everything on the mouth. And I don't want her to touch the baby with the dirty paws. I said, okay. So once she touches home, it's not working. How can we make sure that the rule is followed and maybe in a different way? Is there any creative solution? And then she said, I tried for her to wash the hands before she leaves the building, the kindergarten, but it did not work because it was just more of a struggle. It almost seemed like I was just chasing her down the hallway to go wash her hands. So I kind of like didn't continue with that idea. And I said, "What about in the car?" She said, I have not considered that. But hand sanitizer it has alcohol in it. Even if like she comes to the house and she touches the baby, then the baby it's the alcohol. So I understood where the mom was coming from. Okay, so you don't want chemicals, but you still want your child to wash her hands and have her hands clean. Are there any clean options? And she was kind of looking on Amazon, and she found clean wet wipes that have no chemicals, that are organic, no chemicals. I guess is you almost can eat the wipe and you're okay with it. So she said, okay, I think this will take care of the power struggle. So that's the very, very first thing that I want to give you. Look at if you are dealing with a lot of after school power struggles, see if you have a really opposite priority of your child. And once you know, or once you kind of are clear about what your priorities are, see if some of those priorities are really must have, or if they can wait. And if they're a really must have, how can they be embedded in a way that doesn't feel invasive to your child's priorities? Because remember that your child's priorities, when they're coming back from school, is reconnecting back with their attachment figure, which is you, the parent, with their siblings, with their pets, and with their environment. They don't care about washing hands and hanging the backpack and and dumping their dirty clothes on the hamper and putting their shoes away. That could come later. That could come 40 minutes after their need was met, their need for reconnection is met. Every single behavior communicates a need. And your child powering, struggling over you because she wants to pet the cat Lola and not hang their backpack is not a sign that they are spoiled brats who don't follow instructions. It's a sign that they have a need. They have a need which is belonging, connection, and they are reconnecting back with their pet. It's one of their 5 basic needs. Connection is one of children's 5 basic needs, according to research. When we gain understanding of our children's needs, when we parent our children from the understanding of their needs, we can curb out and avoid so many power struggles because they see us on their side, they see us on the same page. If we are just very focused or an adult agenda and expectation, we miss the need, we miss the child's feelings, we miss to place ourselves into the child's shoes, we miss the empathy side of parenting, and we basically are not effective at gaining our children's cooperation. Our children cooperate when they feel seen and heard. Children who do not feel seen or heard have a harder time cooperating with adults. So if you're dealing with a lot of defiance, check, have I listened to my child lately? Have I dropped my agenda for 5 minutes and just look to those beautiful eyes, to those little hands, and see what they're really needing at that moment? That helps a lot, especially in big transitions such as the after school transition. I'm going to drink water. With our coaching clients in HIC Parenting, we dedicate a big portion of our coaching program in pouring into them so they gain deep understanding of their children's needs. Every child has different needs, and this is a personalized process that we go with every client. But once they gain the understanding of, okay, this is not a spoiled brat, this is a child with connection needs. This is not a rude hyper child, this is a child with sensory needs. Then they are more empathetic and more assertive when it comes to gaining their children's cooperation. That's when they start bringing peace to their parenting and raising emotionally healthy children. Your expectations are not your child's expectations, and their needs are not your needs. And when you focus on to meet their needs and accommodate your priorities, things are a lot smoother in the after school transition. The second thing that I would say it is highly important, especially if you have a neurodivergent child, if you have a child with ADHD, with autism, even if you have a sensory child, is that their sensory needs might be very heightened, especially if they go to public school. My twins go to public school, and public school has a system that maybe they're seated for a long time every day. So when they come home, they don't want to come to sit down and eat a snack. They don't want to sit down anymore. They want to go to the trampoline and jump. They want to play with Lola, our cat. They want to, if the weather is okay, they want to ride their bikes for a little bit. When we are in winter, we're in Phoenix, so winter is a good weather month, a good weather season, I would say. That's the first thing that they do. They put their backpacks away, and then they go right away outside and ride their bikes for 10 minutes. And I let them, because they have to meet their sensory needs one way or the other. If they're not meeting their sensory needs that way, they're going to be meeting their sensory needs at home, getting into mischief. So if you have a child who is quote unquote mischievous after school, if they come from school and then he starts destroying things and or hopping on every counter that he can find, that she can find, that's a really good sign that those sensory needs um, have been put on the back burner for the entire school hours, and now they need to release it somehow. Allow them to release them. If they're not doing them, if they're not doing it in an appropriate way, okay, find appropriate ways. For my twins, riding their bikes is a very appropriate way of releasing that energy. Navigating after school transition, it's more about understanding the after school needs and less about getting our children to do what we want when they come back from school. Navigating after school transition, it's us being prepared emotionally to things not going right, to routine, to-do list, the next thing on the list, but taking our space and time to reconnect back with our kids. And it doesn't take a long time. Power struggles take longer. That little reconnection time with my twins takes 15 minutes, max 20 minutes sometimes. And I have to address this. Sometimes back to school transition has been a little rough. And that usually happens in the first days of school. One of my twins, my neurodivergent one, who struggles with social anxiety. Somebody was calling me, I'm sorry. Who struggles with social anxiety, who struggles with just having a hard time with people around, being in a classroom with so many kids for the entire day. He comes back home. The first week, he came back home and had a meltdown. A meltdown meaning crying, hitting and kicking the floor, and not having it. Not having it. So, what do I do in that case? How do I get them to stop? Don't get them to stop. They need to release that energy. What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. They need to release that. Those backed up emotions that they bottled up all day with you, they're with, at school, they're still there. They're there and they need to come out. And they are waiting for you, who is their safe space, their primary caregiver, to say, okay, now I'm free and I can release everything that is inside of me. So after school meltdowns in the first week of school is not an indication that you are doing something wrong, or even that there is something wrong happening at school. It's just that it's hard for kids to adjust to school. They feel anxiety, they feel nervousness, meeting new teachers, and then they come to school from school and they release everything on you. They dump it on you. So that's the few steps on how I'm navigating the after school transition with my twins, adjusting my expectations, allowing them space to reconnect back with me, with their environment, with their pets, with their sibling, and knowing that what they're going through emotionally is not a reflection on me or even on the school. It's just that they feel safe finally to be themselves and to release all their feelings. If you need help with staying calm, if you need help with, Marcela, I get all that and I get it and I understand it in my head. That's just so hard to apply respectful parenting with understanding in my family. It almost seems that I have all the tools in me, but in the triggering moment, it's hard to apply them. I have an invitation for you. I have a free class that you can access right now. It is free. You access it in HICparenting.com. I'm going to leave a card here if you're watching from YouTube, or it's in the description of this podcast episode. And on this class, I show you the system that took 14,151 of our clients from overwhelm, from exhaustion, from frustration, from reactivity, from yelling, to bringing peace to their parenting and start raising emotionally confident and secure children. Again, you can access this class on the description below or go to hicparenting.com and the class is there. If this podcast episode gave you light, if it helped you in some way understand your children, feel more at ease in your parenting, if it gave you value, would you give me a positive review? Just open the description and write a positive review about the Parenting with Understanding podcast. If you do a 5-star review, that will be amazing. It will help me get to more parents and it will help me basically feel great that I'm helping you the best way possible. And remember, it only takes understanding of yourself and of your children's needs to transform your parenting. That's Parenting with Understanding. I'll see you next week with another episode of the Parenting with Understanding podcast. Bye. Ciao.